So welcome to a new edition of Coffee with Kenny. You and I have done this for a long time for a local union you were the business manager for, and now you have changed your scope and you are now the business manager, financial secretary for Georgia Construction Careers, also known as Atlanta, North Georgia Building Trades, focusing on really more of all of the trades, the effects that legislation and that sort of thing has on the people in your jurisdictions. Right?
Yep, that's correct.
And so today we're going to talk about one of those issues, and one of those issues that is currently a big topic is the privatization of TVA. And we have Michelle Moore here, who was previously a TVA board member, yes?
Yes, sir.
So I wanted to, first of all, welcome you to Coffee with Kenny.
It's a blessing to be here, and I have to say, not only did I bring my coffee this morning, but I brought y'all a can of my very favorite coffee, Café du Monde.
Nice. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you so much. And I want to talk today and get your expertise on this movement to privatize the TVA. I've done enough research to make me dangerous, Michelle, but you've forgotten more about this than I'll ever know. So I'm going to fire some stuff at you, and Kenny and you and I can talk about kind of what the impact that has. As I understand it, well, let me just first get you to introduce yourself and tell me what your relationship with the TVA has been.
It's a blessing to be here with y'all today.
Thank you.
And I am a TVA super fan. My people on my daddy's side are from northern Alabama, and I grew up with TVA lore from my grandparents. And it was just one of the proudest things in my life to be able to serve the people of the Tennessee Valley on that board of directors.
I want to talk about what the TVA is, how it got started, kind of a little bit of the history on it so people understand what we're talking about.
Well, the TVA is this nation's largest public power utility. It serves 11 million people across the Tennessee Valley, and it has been around for almost 100 years. It was created in 1933 by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and it was created specifically to bring power and prosperity to the Tennessee Valley at a time where farm families, hardworking families, didn't have access to electricity. The private companies in the marketplace at the time didn't think it was worth bringing power to the farms, but TVA did just that. And TVA just brought prosperity and built community, built families, built wealth for that region, and turned the Tennessee Valley from, one of the poorest places in the country at that time in America to one of the most prosperous today.
My grandfather, I'm the grandson of, in fact, he's my namesake, or I'm his namesake, ever how that works. Rutland, that was my grandfather. He was a farmer in Center Star, Alabama, right on the shores of the Tennessee River, right down from the Wheeler Dam and the Wilson Dam and all those TVA properties there. How did you become a board member of TVA?
I was appointed by the president, and then a couple of years later, confirmed by the Senate.
So, appointed by the president, have you met the president? Or a president?
I've met a few of them. I've met President Obama. I served in his White House. I met Bill Clinton a number of times, got to meet George Bush, the second one, not the first one, and got to meet Laura Bush as well, incredible woman. Barbara Bush I got to meet as well as First Lady, just amazing, charismatic, heart of a servant kind of people.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool.
So the TVA, they're talking about privatizing it. And they've talked about this before, and what research, as I said, I've done enough research to make me dangerous, but they've talked about this in both Democratic and Republican administrations in the past. Why does this keep coming up, to privatize something that seems to be a pretty good thing?
First and foremost, let me tell you, privatizing the TVA is a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea that pops back up again every 10 or 20 years because TVA belongs to the people of the Valley. It says so above every doorway, for the people. TVA does not take taxpayer money. TVA stands on its own 2 feet. TVA drives more affordable power, economic development, and it protects the people of the valley from what used to be devastating floods in the Tennessee River.
So I was at a conference here recently, and we were speaking with one of the TVA representatives, and something that was interesting to me is I couldn't wrap my mind around it. He said TVA has been operating under the same budget since, I think he said 1978. The same budget. And as a business, you think, like, how is that even possible?
TVA is a government-owned corporation. So it stands on its own 2 feet and it serves the people of the valley. But back in the 1970s, there was an amendment to the TVA Act, and it set a hard dollar debt limit for the TVA at that time, that TVA can't borrow any more money than this. In 1974 dollars, hasn't changed since then. What kind of business in America could operate today if it was working with a debt limit set in 1974?
I want to read you some statistics that I pulled up last night and I thought was interesting. So, given retail statewide averages as proxies, ranked by average kilowatt hour, in the 7 states, is that right, that TVA affects?
7
Which is
states.
Georgia,
Georgia, yep.
North Georgia. In terms of average kilowatt hour, Alabama, likely reflecting Alabama power, 16.09 cents per kilowatt hour. Virginia, 15.41. Georgia, 15. Mississippi, Entergy, Mississippi, 14.71 cents per kilowatt hour. North Carolina, 14.26. Kentucky, 14.08. TVA area average, 9 cents.
TVA's got some of the most affordable power in the whole country.
And so the privatization of things, I hear, right? The argument for it is we'll create some efficiencies and, we'll be able to bid stuff out and, make things more efficient because the free market system, does that. Yet it didn't do it when they deregulated gas in Georgia. It didn't do it in a number of different other areas. Why is that trope still brought up all the time, that privatizing something like this that clearly works at, what is that, 60% of what everybody else charges?
Yep.
Why?
Well, first and foremost, TVA is owned by the people. It says so above the door, for the people. But in D.C., and you have to remember, these ideas are coming out of Washington, D.C., and the mountains are high and the emperor is far away. And folks in D.C. only mess with TVA when it hits their radar screen and serves their purpose. They don't understand the Tennessee Valley Authority. They don't understand that the electricity is less expensive than most electricity across America today. And they think, we might get some efficiency out of it. Or or folks in DC may think more from an ideological perspective, right? Like the government shouldn't be in the business of providing power. The private sector will do it better. But privatization would just add a profit margin on top of
100%.
that cost of electricity.
100%.
And everybody's rates would go up.
I am a stockholder for lots of different companies through investing and for saving for retirement. I get that. I want to retire at some point myself, but stockholders want return on investment, and that's only going to result in higher rates.
Yeah, those kilowatt hours would almost double.
It would be higher rates because TVA it's owned by the people. It's power for the people, right? And the way that all those 11 million folks across the Tennessee Valley get to enjoy the benefit of public power is with lower rates. Lower rates. A utility company that is working with governors and mayors and county commissioners hand in hand to bring economic development to the valley, to bring good jobs to the valley. And they get the benefit of TVA's natural resource management and flood management, everything that they do for the environment, whether you love to fish and you're out on the river, you're out on the lakes.
Love it.
Or whether you're in eastern Tennessee and when Helene came through, you kept your house because TVA held the water back. That's not what happened just across the line in North Carolina. and privatizing TVA, how are you going to make money on that to pay for a stockholder, right? Stockholders are, I mean, sometimes it's folks like you and me. You know,
Right.
a lot of times it's investors that are off in New York or off in California or off somebody else.
Yeah.
But that benefit's not coming back to you, the people of the valley. That affordable electricity, natural resource management, flood control, economic development, that's hitting at home, and that's what for the people means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TVA's been good because I worked at Watts Bar. And so I worked at Watts Bar and I worked at a couple other TVA properties. I worked at Raccoon Mountain. So TVA is good for labor, also for people that's working in construction, us. It's unbelievable. I had some really good jobs. We were efficient like we always are, and we had some cool jobs that we did. You know, we were pulling the feeders for the turbines at Raccoon Mountain all the way up that 1,200-foot shaft. My grandparents lived in Cumberland County, right up in Crossville, Tennessee. It's just, I can't wrap my mind around how efficient they are, because when you put your budget out every year when you're running a business, to work under the same budget, that's, I mean, I don't know if everybody understands how
It's not the same budget.
huge. Well, they
Same
can't
debt limit.
Debt limit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, the same debt limit. I don't see how that's even possible.
Well, I tell you, I mean, when you talk about the great jobs and the partnership that TVA has with the craft trades, it is powerful to see. I've been to Raccoon Mountain,
Yeah.
and that is some cool stuff right
Yeah,
there.
it
That
is.
was cool.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the coolest place I ever visited at the TVA when I served on that board was the Power Services shop.
Okay.
That was just up in North Alabama. And that's where TVA and other utilities from around the country send these giant turbines, just extraordinary. The scale of this equipment is incredible. And it is craft trades, men and women who were there,
Yeah.
building it, fixing it, making it perfect before they send it back off to do its job to keep the power on. And just the testimony of the craft trades with the logo for the TVA, Power to the People, that's been painted on that equipment since 1933.
Yeah.
That's a testimony right there.
That's awesome. Yes, that is. And 98% of their work's organized labor too.
Yes, it is.
So
Yeah.
very efficient.
I mean, it you know, it's like say 90. I got 99 problems, but TVA ain't one.
Amen.
You know, and I don't think that it's a partisan issue. I think it's a pocketbook issue.
Absolutely.
How can people educate themselves? I don't care who you voted for or whatever. How can people educate themselves on this thing? It seems like such a no-brainer. And why would they mess with something? Like I said, they got 99 other problems. Why would they mess with something that probably has, you know, things it can improve on, like we all do, but is working and is in the best interest of the people in the Tennessee Valley, which includes 7 states? Why?
Absolutely. You know, I worked in Washington, D.C. for 20 years. Y'all don't blame me for that. But TVA, like you say, is working. And when something's working, you don't notice it, right? You don't pay any attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's usually like for TVA in D.C. You know, TVA is doing its thing. It's keeping electricity affordable. It's running on its own money. It's not taking appropriations. It's not taking taxpayer dollars to make things work in Tennessee. So nobody in D.C. pays any attention to it until they do, right?
Yeah.
Until TVA is a way to make a point, or until TVA is a way to mess with the valley. And it just happens every 10 or 20 years, and it's happening now.
What is the spark this time?
Let's see, this time around, there's been a lot of attention on TVA, right? In the previous administration and the Biden administration, there was a lot of focus on TVA because the Biden administration wanted TVA to move to clean power and to do it on the same schedule that President Biden had set in an executive order.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in this administration, there's a big push to eliminate the administrative state and take the federal government down to the studs. You know, that's part of what Steve Bannon and others have talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And this administration was elected to do a job by a whole lot of people in this country that includes eliminating the administrative state, right? The Second American Revolution. And TVA is a government-owned corporation. So they're folks who, from an ideological perspective, don't believe the government should be in the business of owning a utility. So they want to privatize.
So you talked about Biden wanting it to be more clean energy. From my research, TVA is fairly diversified. You got a little hydroelectric, you got some nuclear, et cetera. Talk about that.
TVA has a very diverse mix of generation, and it's got a lot of hydro from its founding, from all those dams on the Tennessee River.
Yep.
And TVA has a ton of nuclear. The nuclear fleet at TVA is one of the best run nuclear fleets, not only in this country, but in the entire world. And TVA is working hard to innovate the next generation of nuclear for America, too. They've got a construction permit moving on a small modular reactor up in Tennessee at the Clinch River site. If you can imagine, you know, all of us have seen a nuclear plant. Maybe not up close, but we've seen it from far away, and they are big. A small modular reactor is about the size of a football field. So you can, you know, we need all the power we can get in this country right now, right? And small
100%.
modular reactors can be, once they're up and running, once we've commercialized this technology, they can be deployed more rapidly, more effectively. TVA is at the forefront of doing that right there too, and they're doing it in a way that embraces a vision that those jobs would be American jobs. The innovation, the R&D, the industry would be an American industry. So TVA is still doing the work, even in how it sees its own power generation mix of driving energy innovation, craft trade jobs forward for this country, and folks are still messing with them.
So a lot of what your guys do across the 14 affiliates that you represent, right? 19 affiliates that you represent. So Multicraft are doing these huge data centers, and they're all over the Tennessee Valley. They're all in North Georgia. They're all in North Alabama, Southern Tennessee, Mississippi, Kentucky, et cetera, all the places that TVA serves. Those are big power draws. How is the Tennessee Valley dealing with that?
Well, when it comes to data centers, and I am someone who believes it is imperative that this country leads the world in AI, because it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
And we need to be at the forefront.
Yeah.
But we are in the early days of a rapidly evolving energy crisis in America. You know, bills are sky high, rates are rising. We need a lot more power than we got. And data centers and the soaring demand that they have for power is pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
And it's pushing the envelope on the Tennessee Valley region. It's pushing the envelope on the Southeast. I mean, just the other day, Alabama Power had to raise rates to pay for new generation to serve another big data center coming into that state.
Yeah. So there's a data center being built in Dalton, Georgia. It's a 350 megawatt data center, 350 megawatts.
For one installation.
For one. Now, the QTS down in Fayetteville, everybody knows the story behind that one. It's massive. It's huge. You know, it's taken the same capacity that Unit 4 at Vogel puts out to power that data center in Fayetteville. So there is a shortage on power, and it feels like TVA was trying to expand and build some new generation plants when they got put back into the crosshairs to be privatized. But there's definitely a problem across the country that a lot of people don't realize with demand. We've got to have more power.
Yeah.
You know, if you're watching this Coffee with Kenny and you lost your job due to AI, go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com because we're AI proof right now. But, you know, my sister, she was working at data analyst. It's replacing a lot of jobs, but it's something that everybody wants. If you want that phone and you want that luxury to be able to scroll, you know, you got to have your data center. So that's where it's at.
Well, and AI pulls so much more power than even, you know, you search results now or social media.
That's right. Or anything. And it's coming. Like you said, Michelle, it's coming. So we got to have the power.
We do. And the AI data centers, this makes the case. It makes the case for the TVA. It makes the case for the public power mission. because the AI data centers put our energy systems right back at the center of economic development, affordability, and good jobs. We got to have the power we need. We got to keep it affordable. And you know what, y'all? People pay bills, not rates.
That's right.
They pay bills, not rates. Rates are going to go up because of supply and demand.
Yeah, 100%.
But people pay bills. And you know what we need to keep bills low? We need infrastructure. We need distributed power. We need those SMRs, and we need energy efficiency, right? We need to start seeing people's homes as part of our energy infrastructure.
Yeah.
So when they go ahead, Ken.
Our good friend Tim Eccles helped us here though with the rates. Mm-hmm. We've got a 3-year rate freeze here, so here in Georgia, and in this district, we're not going to have any rate increases because the Public Service Commissioner worked very hard to get that down. So next 3 years, there's no rate increases here. And that's good. That's good for Georgia too. Absolutely. But we realize, you got to have a little bit of common sense, because you do have to realize if you want the luxuries of life and you want stuff, rates are going to go up. That's just it's like inflation. That's going to happen. But kudos to our Public Service Commissioners, Tim Eccles, and those guys for keeping those rates down for another 3 years.
So I've got a question for you, Michelle, about the onslaught of AI and all the power needs that we're going to have in the next 3, 5, 10 years. How does interrupting that process with the TVA by trying to privatize it, how will it affect the Valley's ability in the short term?
It just impacts the Valley's ability to continue to drive forward with economic development. Because what does business hate? Uncertainty. Mm-hmm. Business hates uncertainty, because uncertainty is risk. If you're going to make a new $1 billion economic development investment in any state, and you don't know what the condition of your utility is going to be, you don't know if there's going to be a whole bunch of public policy conflict in D.C., are you going to make that investment? Mm-hmm. Or are you going to go next door? Or are you going to look somewhere else? Right. So it's disruptive. It's disruptive to economic opportunity coming into this region as well.
And just to change over in general. Could you imagine the learning curve coming out of the private sector and just saying, all right, we're going to take this over? It would be a nightmare for who knows how long.
All I know is that when they deregulated gas here 20-something years ago, I didn't see a rate decrease. I saw about 50 new companies trying to get me to change my bill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't really see much in the rate decrease. I just, so it's not about rate. It must not be about rate, because there's no way that rates aren't generally going to go up.
It's about ideology.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not about practical. It's not about what the people want.
Right.
It's not about bills. It's about ideology.
What can people do to, first of all, educate themselves? I'm a great believer in trying to distill things out to the truth. Both sides are telling you both things all the time, and it's like, how do you distill out to the truth? So how can they properly educate themselves, one? And two, what can they do if they believe similarly that TVA is working, might not be perfect, but it's working, and we got 99 other problems? What can
TVA ain't one.
Yeah, TVA ain't one. So how can they have their voice heard on that?
There's 7 states touched by TVA. That means there are 14 U.S. senators. Mm. And number one, no if you are served by TVA power, and no if you are working with TVA power. And make sure that your colleagues, the people in Washington who represent you, make sure your governors know that you like TVA just like it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you want public power, because public power is working for the people of the Valley. Don't mess with it.
Yeah. And then comment in this podcast here, no to privatizing TVA, and we can push it out too. There's one step. Yeah. Go to the comments and put no to privatizing TVA.
Yeah. My cynical side says to me that the people in Washington are already bought and paid for, and they're going to vote on whatever side they have to vote on, That's so frustrating to me. It's not even funny. But what about local politicians? What local politicians can, because I do believe in all politics are local, right? And you can make a difference by who you reach out to locally and by who you vote for locally. What about local politicians?
would think about it in terms of relationships. So your local elected leaders may be able to send a text message to their senator in Washington. So if local folks know how important it is to keep TVA public power, don't privatize, and they can share that message with their friends and colleagues in Washington, just that network effect is powerful too.
And I think we can put those links in the notes.
Put the links, and let's
below.
get the senators that are in TVA's district.
Yep.
Let's put their information on so people can reach out to those senators and let them know to say no.
Yeah.
That's one step we could take as well.
Yeah.
The governors, reach out to them. We'll load it down with information, links in there so they can get to where they need to.
Yeah. So in closing, what would you say to people net about TVA, why it's important to keep it as a public utility owned by the people? What would you say to them as we part?
TVA is an American icon. It's been delivering affordable power, economic development, and a wonderful quality of life to the people of the Tennessee Valley for nearly 100 years. It keeps bills affordable. It brings businesses and good jobs to the valley, and it preserves the quality of life. It saves lives. It stops floods. Don't mess with it. Get to know the TVA. Know if you are served by the TVA. Make sure your elected leaders know that you like TVA just like it is, because it says above every single door, for the people, and that's the spirit with which the 11,000 men and women who work there serve the people of the valley every day.
Thank you for joining us on Coffee with Kenny. I really appreciate your insight, and we'll put all this stuff in the liner notes so people can get in touch with their representatives and voice their opinion.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.